Hello, everyone. Well, thanks for attending my talk. I will talk about AI, how it will impact billions of voices, not just limited to India. Actually, English is one of the biggest language spoken in India. That means we're targeting actually global. So I'll cover what are the challenges that happens or when you go large scale. Most of the systems that currently work, ChatGPT, etc., they work for predominantly for English, or we have played with them in English. Of course, there's some multilingual capabilities as well that are coming, but a lot of work is needed. So that's what I cover. Uh, so first, let's try to understand what does AI for a billion voices mean. Basically, if you look at the nuances when you build it for multiple languages, especially in scenarios like India, so first thing is the language is much richer. If you go target hundreds of languages, the challenges are much more difficult, much more because if you look at the population of India, it's 20% of the globe. However, if you look at the data, Indic data, combined across all the 100 languages is 2%. So 22% data available on the web, while there are hundreds of languages and representing 20% of the global population. That's one. So from technical point of view, it's much, much harder. Plus, there's less data, as opposed to if you look at English-focused models or common models which are available, the data is massive, and the infrastructure that they have is massive. If you go to India scale, there is not much infrastructure that has to be built. So if you want to have AI to go impact grassroots levels, such as farmers or a student in a remote village, you have to do a lot of work from tech point of view and from scalability point of view. Second thing is India is more spoken culture. People speak as opposed to type. And therefore, as you know, when there's voice interface, there are many, many complex nuances in terms of voice. There's ASR, there are errors around it, then people mix languages. It's very common in India that people speak three languages in the same conversation. And therefore, a typical, you might have seen GPT-4o interface or the experience where there is only one language. But if you want to build it for India, it's much, much more complicated because there will be three languages right there. And therefore, the errors extrapolate that way. And then there is this digital divide and infrastructure, as I said. India is basically, you have cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, where there is urban population which is used to these tools, while there is a population which is in villages which needs to have a lot of impact, but again, they don't have much access. But they're getting there. And there have been many examples where India has built the best infrastructure, UPI, which is the largest financial infrastructure in the world with hundreds of billions of transactions. So when we go and scale for India and build for India, it actually builds for the world as well. So that's the kind of infrastructure that we are building at Krutrim. And then there is this ethical and factual nuances. Basically, because it's multicultural, multi-language, every state is like a country. It's like a Europe, right? Every state is a country in that way. So when we bring it together, you have to align everyone. And it's the largest democracy. That means you have to hear across every voice. So that's the kind of nuances as we build. So from ethical point of view, bias point of view, it's much, much more challenging compared to a typical model that you see in the West. And as I said, lack of high-quality data, that's the thing. Plus, the typical tokenization strategies, which I will cover. Tokenization is a strategy where you convert data into some kind of numbers. Machines, models, they don't understand, or machines don't understand language. You have to convert that into some form of tokens or numbers, and it's much more challenging because of multilingual nature of it. But with that, there are opportunities as well. You have this faster technology adoption. I mean, we have seen with UPI, which is the largest financial, as I said, system in the world, 5G, which is the best 5G network in the world. So when we scale and build for India, the opportunities are immense, which is not just limited to India. With these opportunities, when you build for India, you actually go work with other countries or globally as well. So from an opportunity point of view, it's very big. Then it is the largest consumer base, as I said, and it is also the largest number of developers in the world. So as we build it, those developers escalate, or the efforts that they put, it actually leads to much more impact, and therefore, again, across use cases, across languages, and across domains. And as I said, this led to grassroots level impact across education, healthcare, farming, coding use cases, etc. So if you want to build for India, what do you do, right? I just spoke about the challenges and opportunities, but we need to know what is required. So as I said, fine-tuning does not work for India. If you take llamas or mistrals, they don't work for India scale. There are multiple reasons, and I will show you results and why that doesn't work. First thing is that if you look at the current models, most of them are trained on Roman or Latin languages. That means predominantly English in many ways. And they lack contextual understanding. As in, as I said, in India, there are many languages where you can keep on combining many, many words. And a word in Indian language can mean a paragraph in English. So that leads to much more contextual challenges. And there's this bias data. If one of the things that you might have seen recently, a couple of months ago when Gemini came along, someone asked a question, generate an image of Pope. You saw an Indian woman represented as Pope. So there are many nuances on or biases involved in when you build for nuances like India. Also, a lot of these models which are driven by Roman or data on the web, predominantly by West, that is not factually correct. So we have to also enable that, how to make it more sovereign, more local, and I'm sure that is a challenge for Singapore. A lot of the countries which are building their own systems, there are facts which are grounded to the sovereigns of the countries or local cultures, which is very different from how people have been perceiving them. So how do we address these challenges? So we built our own foundational model. We built a foundational model around 6 months ago. We launched it. It is used by millions of users in India. It's like an app, like ChatGPT-like app, which you can play. Anyone can use it. It's also available on a cloud for developers and also as an app, as I said. And we're currently building a massive multimodal model which can take voice, vision, as well as text. And with that, the first version that we launched, which is already available, it was trained on 2 trillion tokens, NDIC tokens, plus English. And it was done with unique mix of, to make sure that it works across many languages, especially official languages. It can generate in many languages, including German, Chinese, etc. But we try to make it work really good for NDIC languages, which are official. Then we had to build our own tokenizer, which I will cover. And it's trained on millions of SFT examples, fine-tuning examples, to make sure that it can cover a lot of these use cases. And the capabilities of this model, it is able to understand and comprehend and generate across multiple NDIC languages. It understands NDIC nuances, as I said, culture, history, facts, and use cases which are relevant for India, so that those kind of use cases are also covered by our model. And that was just our first model that we launched. It has the reasoning capabilities are quite good compared to the size of the model that is. I think it is one of the best in that class of the models. We are integrating voice capabilities to it to make it more natural. So I talked about tokenization, this is my slide where I want to cover that why fine-tuning models doesn't work for India. If you take Llama, this is Llama 3, which is the best, and it was supposed to be better for multilingual. Llama 2 is even worse, but this is Llama 3, which is supposed to be, as I said, good for NDIC languages. It is terrible. As in, if you look at the tokenizer, this is called something called token-to-word ratio. The red curve means a higher number of tokens. That means if I pass a word, a single word, for example, it will get split into multiple tokens. The more tokens you have, the more cost developers have to pay. And also the accuracy is worse because model does not understand the tokens. For example, if I pass a word, every character will break into many, many tokens. That's not what you want. A good tokenizer is the one which can convert a word into minimum number of tokens. And that's what we built. And if you see the comparison of ours versus, let's say, Llama 3, and this is the tokenizer which I show is even the older one. We have even better tokenizer for NDIC languages. But you see that across NDIC languages, these models which are fine-tuned, they don't work. And this is a comparison of another example of why fine-tuning doesn't work. Many developers in India and across the globe, they fine-tune Llamas or Llamas and Mistral, etc., or Gamma from Google, fine-tune for different languages such as Kannada Llama, Tamil Llama, Eravat. They don't work as well compared to what Krutrim built. And we have a technical report which is coming, or it's available as well. But we compare them across tasks, and you would see that, and in fact, we also compare with ChatGPT, which is state-of-the-art. So, and GPT-4 evaluation is also going on, and we are still, in many, many areas, we are still better. But of course, our new model will be much significantly better because of the capabilities that are coming along. These are 2 examples of translation and multiple choice question answering, where you can see that the model that we built, Krutrim, it's significantly better. Another thing that we built is something like perplexity. India, you have to be factually correct. For example, people interact with voice. Not a lot of them are educated. And it's still developing country. So education is yet to cover the entire population. Now, that means we have to be factually correct. India is the largest consumer. We have like 300, 400 million active users using phones, and it's only growing. And people use voice to get information such as what is the weather, given the weather, how should I address? A farmer would try to understand the weather and then try to act accordingly. Then there is a student who is trying to understand some concept. Again, it is one of the largest. It is one of the largest. It is for the young population, and therefore there is education involved in there. So we want to be factually correct there as well. And then there is health. Health is still a challenge. There is infrastructure being built. So we want to make sure that whenever people ask questions about a kind of health issue, our model is accurate. And to do that, we built something like integration with search engines. And with that, we try to build or deliver factually correct answers, something like perplexity, as I mentioned. And you see that on the left side, orange is our curve. And you will see that top two are basically, the first two actually are the models, which are some of the state-of-the-art models in the world for search, and including perplexity. You will see that we are quite there in terms of accuracy. On the right side is the hallucinations. Models have capability or tendency to hallucinate or made up information, such as, I may ask, when did Roger Federer go to moon? And then our model might say he went to moon in 2020, right? And they have this tendency to generate factually or made up queries. So even though you may feel it is correct, but it is not. So they make up stuff which you don't want. And if you see in the right side, the second curve, our hallucination rate is much lower compared to state-of-the-art conversational search engine, which are connected to web. Then there are use cases or scenarios where we outperform GPT-4 as well in some especially low-resource languages, as you see, which again is state-of-the-art. And as I said, in the class of the model where it is trained, for example, Llama 2, in terms of flops. Flops is basically floating point operations, or you can think of it like intelligence, which is embedded into a model. We do significantly better compared to Llama 2 in English, despite passing much lesser tokens in English. And again, we are quite there. Again, we are still behind state-of-the-art models, and we have to do a lot of work, which is happening by our team. Our team is working on that, and we are getting there, and we'll hopefully be in the top few models in the world, across languages, across use cases. And again, we showcase high performance across many benchmarks. Reasoning, math, coding, et cetera, et cetera. So what is needed to build AI for India? I just mentioned that we build a model, but how to make it work, how to scale it for India or for the globe. So we are building something called stack. We are building full AI stack. Krutrim is building full AI stack. By that, what it means is that we are designing our own chips. Then we are building our own infrastructure AI cloud. Think of it like AWS, GCP, Azure. And then we are building our own foundational models, which will be available to consumers as well as to developers. And we are part of Ola, which is one of the largest consumer brands in India, and with 200 million active users. So with this vertical stack, we actually deliver impact across the country as soon as we build something. This is a key slide which I want to emphasize. Among all the AI, Gen AI companies, if you look at the companies, you have tens and thousands of startups, right? Fine-tuning the models, taking the models, and using them. Then there is around 15 or so companies which are doing foundational model pre-training. There are less than 5 companies in the world which are doing multimodal, multilingual pre-training from scratch. And of course, you saw Google and Meta, or OpenAI. We are one of those. We're trying to build and address this scenario. And of course, a lot of work has to be done. We are still behind. We have to do a lot of work to address these challenges. And as I said, from developer point of view, we have made our models available to developers. They can use it. So if some of you are interested in English or Indic languages, you can use these APIs. We'll also make these APIs available with agentic architecture. That means with that, there will be many use cases that can be covered at cheaper cost compared to, let's say, a model which can do everything. So that's something, if you're excited about using these APIs, please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. And as I said, India scale also impacts the world. So whatever we build impacts or works for the world. So if you have any more questions, I'm available here for 2 days, and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Thank you, everyone.